Hi friends, welcome to Florence Programming. In this video, I am going to explain you about data warehouse and data warehousing. Let me see what is data warehouse. See, data warehouse is nothing but it is a storage and it is a digital repository for an organization's operational database. So for particular organization, they can maintain their operations data as a data warehouse. It is a storage only, is fully contained about data about particular organization. So data warehousing is the process of constructing and using data warehouse. So when you talk about what is data warehousing, so warehousing is a process. It helps to construct and use the data warehouse. So when you define data warehouse means it is a storage or digital repository for a particular organization. And data warehousing means it is a process for constructing and using data warehouse. Also, data warehousing provides architecture and tools for analyzing business data for decision making. So data warehousing will not only the process of constructing the data, but also it provide architecture and tools to analyze the data. When you come to the definition of data warehouse, there are four main keywords which coin the definition of data warehouse, which are subject oriented, integrated, time variant, and non volatile. All these four keywords which frame the definition of data warehouse, which all the collection of data in support of management decision making process. So when you go for the definition of data warehouse means a data warehouse is a subject oriented, integrated, time variant and non-volatile collection of data which support for decision making. Let me see the keywords of data warehouse one by one. The first keyword is subject oriented. See, data warehouse is the subject oriented collection of data. So when you collect data, it is a organization based data or particular industry based data. It will not have the transaction data or the human resource data like that. It will not have a separate data. When you go with data warehouse, it has a particular and a specific organization or specific industry or enterprise data. That is why we are seeing this as a subject oriented. Suppose you are taking the organized around major subjects like customer data, product data, sales data, all the data will be a subject based data. So it provide simple and conscious view around particular subject issues by excluding data that are not useful in decision support process. So mainly data warehouse is for only decision making. So the data which are not helpful for decision making, it will not be included in the data warehouse. So the first keyword of data warehouse is it is subject oriented. So the specific data about a particular organization, about particular industries or enterprise will be in the data warehouse. And the next keyword is it is integrated. How we are getting data for data warehouse? There are different sources or there. The data will be extracted from different sources, so which are integrated together and placed as a one data warehouse. So this is integrated. So the sources of data warehouse is from heterogeneous data sources and from multiple data sources which all integrated together and it will form data warehouse. So here we need the cleaning process. Integration techniques will be applied to integrate and clean the data, and the data are ready for analysis. So this is data integrated. Next, third one is time variant. The data warehouse, the data period maybe 10 years, 15 years, or 5 years, or 1 year data like that, historic data will be maintained in data warehouse. Like our on ordinary DBMS will have the current data, real data will be keep on updating here. But in data warehouse is not like that. It maintain the long-term data as a repository, so that we can make decisions and we can apply some prediction algorithms on that. We can predict the longer term informations using that data warehouse. That is why it is time variant. It will not have a current data value. Since some places we may use the real time data in data warehouse for decision making and for analysis, but in the most of the time, at the maximum places, we will use the historic data to make analysis and to make decision making. That is why it is time variant. And the next one is non-volatile. Mostly data warehouse will not permit to update the data. There will not happen. See here, operational update of data does not happen in data warehouse. So that is why it is non-volatile. Only two main operations we will perform on data warehouse, that is initial loading of data and access of data. These two main operations we will perform on this data warehouse. That is why we are telling these as non-volatile, since we are not performing any updations, and it does not require transaction processing, recovery, consistency control mechanism here, because there is no updates takes place here. So these are the four keywords which coin the data warehouse definition. That is subject oriented, and it is integrated, time variant, and non-volatile. This is about data warehouse. Now, we have traditional DBMS system, which are used by millions of industries or millions of applications. But why do we need data warehouse? Or what is the difference between our traditional DBMS with data warehouse? One thing is, our traditional DBMS have online transaction processing takes place. But when you come to data warehouse, it will take online analytical processing. So the normal database will helps for transaction processing applications or transaction processing. When you come to data warehouse, it will apply for analytical process. That is a major difference between the operational database with our data warehouse. With respect to other terms, with respect to users and system orientation, the database, operational database is customer oriented, because for every customer transaction, one row will be updated in the database. But here it is not like that. It is purely market oriented, since we are applying this data warehouse for decision making in market. So that is why it is market oriented. Then when you come to data contents, here it manages the current data, but OLAP will manages historic data. And the database design, the design of database here, it will follow entity relationship model and application oriented database design. ER model we will follow for schemas, but for application it is application oriented. Every database is specific for particular applications. If you are taking banking application, it has its own database structure. If you are taking railway, it has its own. If you are taking online shopping, it has its own database structure. That is why it is application oriented database. But when you come to data warehouse, it is subject oriented, because the main definition, the main theme of data warehouse is subject oriented. So it is subject oriented design, and the database structure, the schema it will adopt is star and or snowflakes model. It will adopt for its schemas. And the next, view of the database. It is mainly focused on the current data. So everyday transaction we can view. But here we are integrating information from different sources, and we will have a bulk data here. We can view in different ways. and accessing is, this is very short and atomic transaction. It will apply that atomic transaction property, but here it is read only. It will allow, it will have a privileges for every users, but here there is no such privileges. It is read only. There is no updates takes place in data warehouse. But when you come to operational DBMS, it will allow to update, delete, modify all the operations we can perform on OLTP. So this is the major difference between the operational database system with data warehouse. Next, why do we need a separate data warehouse? Since we are having a very good structure, we are having a very good DBMS, which will provide a lot of mechanism, lot of tools to access and process data, then why do we need data warehouse? See, data warehouse is also follows the structure and operations of DBMS. But when you come to the accessing method and data structures and the permission for giving access, these are all some difference between the DBMS with the data warehouse. So we need a separate data warehouse as a subject oriented, so that we can analyze subject wise, we can make decisions subject wise. That is why we need a separate data warehouse. When you again compare, DBMS is tuned only for transaction processing, but warehouse is tuned only for analytic process. Then when you come to different functions and different data in both DBMS as well as in warehouse, here we have a algorithm or mechanism to handle missing data. But in DBMS, it will not have such a mechanism for handling missing data. And next, data consolidation. We can consolidate various sources of data in data warehouse. But here there is no consolidation in DBMS. Then the quality of data. So the quality of data is very high or very good in DBMS, but the quality of data in data warehouse is again little question mark here. So these are some of the difference between data warehouse and operational DBMS. So in this video, I explained you about the definition of data warehouse and the difference between data warehouse and operational DBMS. Then what is the necessity of having the data warehouse? Hope you understood about what is data warehouse and what is data warehousing. Thank you for watching.